Hello. Welcome to the HRSA Technical Assistance webcast on the reviewer roles and responsibilities for an Objective Review Committee participant. I am your presenter, Cherise Harris, a review administrator in HRSA's Office of Federal Assistance Management under the Division of Independent Review, DIR. Today I will provide information that will hopefully be useful to you as you pursue your interest in becoming a HRSA reviewer. So let's get started. The Health Resources and Services Administration, HRSA, is the primary federal agency under the Department of Health and Human Services for improving access to health care services for the uninsured, isolated, and medically vulnerable populations, such as those living with HIV/AIDS, pregnant women, mothers and children, and families. It awards grants to organizations to provide various health care services and resources and to train health professionals and improve systems of care in rural communities. As an agency, HRSA receives 3,500 to 5,000 competitive applications on an annual basis, and thereby has a strong need for qualified reviewers with education and or expertise in various healthcare areas, such as health professions training, HIV/AIDS treatment, maternal and child health services, organ transplantation, primary care for underserved persons, and rural health care. HRSA also has a strong need for these qualified potential reviewers to be trained on how to effectively participate in the objective review process. The primary mode for reviewer recruitment is through the HRSA Electronic Reviewer Database. Currently, the database has over 10,000 registrants, but with new programs being implemented each year and with HRSA's commitment to recruit new reviewers to ensure objectivity, there is a need for more registrants. Reviewers are either self-nominated or nominated by program officials to register and apply in the database. Along with the registration and application process, registrants are asked to complete the reviewer assessment and to upload a current resume or curriculum vitae. This is a one-time process that takes approximately 45 minutes to complete all steps. To start the process, you will need to access the HRSA website at www.hrsa.gov and then go to the Grants link and then to the Become a HRSA Reviewer link. Or you may simply copy and paste the following URL into your browser: https://grants.hrsa.gov/webreview/. This URL will be presented again at the end of this webcast for further reference. The following is a screenshot of what you will see when you access the URL. You will see the welcome page and the call for reviewers, along with the expertise needed for potential reviewers. On the left-hand side, you will see drop-down boxes with a welcome link and registration link. Reviewers enter the following types of information into the database: contact information, residence, gender, ethnicity, race, credentials, education, degrees, specialty, occupation, and work experience. Remember that registration into the database is a one-time process. But if you ever need to access your information again to make updates to your email address or telephone number or to upload a most current resume, it is most helpful to keep your login information. Or otherwise, it will take a continuing resolution by Congress authorizing us to deobligate funds and establishing a database super committee. Okay, well, you get the idea. So save your login information. The following are examples of some reviewer occupational categories that are currently needed by HRSA. Doctors, nurses, dentists, pharmacists, nutritionists, social workers, psychologists, health administrators, patient navigators, health economists, physician assistants, and allied health providers. This list is by no means exhaustive, as every year we have new programs introduced into our competitive review cycles and have need for reviewers with diverse backgrounds. So, the more the merrier. DIR is the office responsible for the objective review process at HRSA. We oversee the review process for discretionary grants, expansion grants, and cooperative agreement programs for the agency. With that, our mission is to ensure a fair, ethical, and objective review is performed on each application involved in all competitive review cycles for each fiscal year. In DIR, we utilize 3 modes of review: face-to-face, web teleconference, and field. The face-to-face review consists of participants reviewing their assigned applications and developing their individual evaluations independently, then convening collectively with their panel members in a face-to-face meeting. These meetings are primarily held in a hotel in the Washington, D.C. area, and a typical review lasts 2 to 3 days. The most common or most frequently used mode of review is a web teleconference. This mode of review utilizes web conferencing technology and allows reviewers to participate in panel discussions remotely. Reviewers are still asked to read and evaluate their assigned applications independently prior to the meeting. The last mode used is the field reader review. In this mode, reviewers read and evaluate their assigned applications independently and return their evaluations to HRSA for compilation. Reviewers do not convene collectively, and once the evaluations are submitted, reviewers are done with their work. The roles of the reviewer in the grants review process are to possess the necessary knowledge and expertise equivalent to individuals who have submitted an application in the competition for which the reviewer is supporting. In other words, reviewers should be as skilled and knowledgeable in the field as those applying for grant funds. It is also the role of the reviewer to provide a comprehensive evaluation of the merits of the applications in a competition. Typically, A reviewer will be assigned 6 to 8 applications per competition. However, this may vary according to the program, complexity, length of the applications, the number of eligible applications received, and the time available for independent reviewing. In addition to the roles aforementioned, a reviewer is also expected to follow the directions and instructions of DIR, along with adhering to the Funding Opportunity Announcement, or FOA. A reviewer is to complete assigned tasks in accordance with established deadlines and should be able to work effectively in a group setting. Reviewers are typically given 3 to 4 weeks to review their assigned applications before submission. We, in HRSA, define dedication as being committed to the outlined work schedule and subsequent delivery dates. Successful HRSA reviewers will be motivated or able to perform their work duties independently. We are always grateful to have new reviewers, and especially those reviewers that are dedicated and motivated to the process. It helps all parties involved to ensure a successful review experience. A major responsibility of reviewers is to bring no prejudices, biases, predispositions, or conflicts of interest into the review process. A reviewer must declare any and all potential or actual conflicts of interest. HRSA's definition of a conflict of interest is this: a conflict of interest exists if that person or close relative or professional associate of that person actually has or has the appearance of having received or could receive a direct financial benefit from an application under review, or any other interest in the application or proposal that is likely to bias the individual's evaluation of that application or proposal under review. Likewise, no person who serves as an officer, director, trustee, partner, or employee of an applicant, its parent or subsidiary organization, may serve as a reviewer on the committee or any panel in the competition. Prior to the actual review of applications, a confirmed reviewer is provided the list of eligible applications in their electronic reviewer package. This list allows a reviewer to determine if they have an actual or perceived conflict of interest with any application in the competition. All confirmed reviewers complete and sign a conflict of interest and confidentiality form to assert that they do not have a conflict, or if they do, that it is declared on the form. It is the responsibility of the reviewers to make every attempt to identify any conflict of interest as early as possible to avoid compromising the validity or integrity of the review. We at HRSA greatly appreciate knowing any conflicts as soon as possible to ensure objectivity throughout the review. Another responsibility of reviewers is to ensure that all review materials are treated confidentially and should only be used by those participating in the objective review process, such as HRSA staff, DIR contractors, and assigned review participants. Any reproduction of review materials is prohibited, and all confidential information saved or used by the review participants must be destroyed upon completion of the review. At no time prior, during, or after the review of applications should review participants discuss the applications, comments, recommendations, evaluations, scores, names of applicants, or names of other review participants with anyone not involved in the objective review itself. So far, we have covered the roles and responsibilities of the reviewers to include conflict of interest and confidentiality. Now, let's discuss the review approach. During the review of the applications and during review deliberations, reviewers should read the FOA and applications thoroughly. The standard review criteria used in the FOAs are need, response, evaluative measures, impact, resources and capabilities, and support requested. Reviewers should not compare applications or include outside information in the evaluations or discussions on the panel. They must only use the published information and guidelines set forth in the FOA. It is most important that reviewers avoid personal biases and be consistent in their evaluation. While reviewing, be thorough and accurate. We always want to provide the most useful feedback to applicants. In addition, avoid contradictions. Be sure to always include supportive rationale, as this helps to support your score and the final scores given to each application. As an applicant, the feedback helps to provide clarity regarding the consensus decision of the panel. When writing strengths and weaknesses, you must adhere to the following. Avoid inclusion of proper names. Instead, use the position title when referring to individuals in your evaluation. Also, avoid the use of acronyms without first stating what they represent, which adds clarity to the final summary statement. Avoid the use of questions in evaluations. Instead, feedback should be in complete statements and in the present tense. And please, no bullets. It is imperative that you develop your strengths and weaknesses, as all feedback should be defensible and explanatory. Please avoid simply restating the review criteria as feedback. For example, the sentence, "The applicant organization provides performance measures," is simply regurgitating back what is written in the FOA and serves mostly as a check mark and does not state what the applicant did well. Instead, it is helpful to elaborate and to provide detail in evaluations. For example, the applicant organization includes performance measures for all 5 health indicators outlined in the needs assessment, which helps to paint a clear picture of the target population. This statement lets the applicant know what they did well and the true strengths of the application. A helpful tip for reviewers when writing strengths and weaknesses is to make separate notes for your own use. These reference notes will prove handy when faced with questions from colleagues during panel deliberations and will serve to jog your memory for potential follow-up that may be needed. Reviewers are typically asked to submit their scores in an electronic application review module named ARM. Selected reviewers are given an access code that allows them to review and evaluate their assigned applications in the ARM system. Reviewers can input scores, comments, and budget information into the system and are encouraged to submit as they go and not to wait until all evaluations are finished before submitting anything into ARM. We try to avoid as many technical difficulties as possible, and this method has proven to be the most effective. This method also ensures that all work is submitted by the established deadline date. We at HRSA love to give out gold stars to those most dedicated and motivated reviewers who meet their deadline dates. So, if you are a person that will work for gold stars, please apply to be a HRSA reviewer. Commitment is key not only to finishing assigned tasks in ARM, but also to being committed to participating on the assigned meeting review days. For face-to-face and web teleconference reviews, a reviewer must commit to the workload and to participating all day, every day of the review meeting. During the panel deliberations, a reviewer must be ready to work. Please avoid the use of cell phones during the meeting. The use of laptops and tablets should be limited to work-related use for the HRSA review meeting. A reviewer must work cooperatively and collaboratively to develop consensus statements during the deliberations and respect the chairperson and colleagues in their respective roles. In other words, no fights allowed. We hate to do it, but we have had to place people in professional timeouts. So please, let's all play nicely in the sandbox together. Finally, all reviewers must score consistent to panel consensus, as during the meeting, discussion amongst panel members may help to clarify some points of confusion and thereby give a clearer view of the application. So, we've talked about the duties and responsibilities of reviewers before and during the meeting. Now, I will talk about one of the most important topics to a reviewer, the honoraria. A reviewer that participates in a face-to-face or web teleconference review will receive an honorarium of $350 per day of the review. A reviewer will receive $140 per application for participating in a field review. Now that you have heard all about the purpose and mission of DIR and the importance of reviewers in the review process, I know that you can't wait to become a part of the HRSA review team. To do so, you must register and apply to be a HRSA reviewer in the HRSA Reviewer Database. To access the database, log on to the website at https://grants.hrsa.gov/webreview/. Once you have registered and applied, be sure to upload a current resume or CV and to take the reviewer assessment. We look forward to working with all of you. For more information on how to register and apply in the HRSA Reviewer Database, or for general help with updating your information, please call the HRSA Call Center at 877-GO-FOR-HRSA or 877-464-4772. Or you may email the call center at callcenter@hrsa.gov. For general inquiries about this presentation, please email me, Sharice Harris, at sharris1@hrsa.gov. And now, we will open up the lines for a question and answer segment. But before we start, let's pause for a moment to hear from our operator.
To ask a question, please call into 1-800-779-9065 with the passcode of OFAM. To enter the question queue, press star 1. Please turn off your speaker before asking a question, or you may send emails using your email icon on this module. Thank you.
Yes, we have one question. How does HRSA ensure that reviewers understand the FOA?
That's a great question. What we normally do is we have a pre-review conference call that is scheduled at least 30 to 45 days out from when applications are due. And this gives selected reviewers an opportunity to ask questions that they may have of the program staff, the grant staff, or from us in DIR. So that serves as our first line of defense for questions and understanding better the FOA. Also, throughout the review process, while reviewers are evaluating, you also have an opportunity to email us in DIR, and we'll filter those questions and get them answered for you, especially regarding the FOA.
We have another question. Are reviews all day long? Are they 12 or 16 hours long?
My name is Jeannie Davis, and I will respond to that question. For the most part, our reviews run 2 to 3 days, and they are all day until we complete all the applications. A typical day on the first day is about 8 hours. We usually do not go beyond an 8-hour day the first day because we realize that you've had a very, very tiring day getting to know everyone. But the other 2 days or the remaining day of any review it will be assessed daily based upon the progress of the individual panels.
Is there a minimum education level required to participate?
No, there's no minimum education level. However, we do encourage you that when you select your qualifications in the database, that you put as many as possible that are applicable to you, as that helps us to assess all of your skill sets and your knowledge. So we'll look forward to looking at those and matching them up to your resume and determining whether or not you meet our needs for those particular reviews.
Typically, how many days does the face-to-face or teleconference take?
Well, a face-to-face can be as little as 2 days and possibly up to 4 days for some of our larger reviews. Teleconference reviews, they're web-assisted teleconference reviews, are typically up to 3 days. They can run 1, 2, 3, but 3 is usually the max on a teleconference review.
What is an example of outside information that could not be introduced?
A typical example of outside information that comes up, especially in panel discussions, is reviewers having knowledge of the financial situation of the organization that is not declared in the application itself. That is considered outside information. Also, if you have knowledge of the service area, to include things such as demographics or knowledge of the organization itself that's not outlined in the application. Another thing that we discourage reviewers from doing that's considered outside information is accessing websites or going online and trying to research the organizations in order to find more information about the organization that has not been clearly displayed or outlined in the application. So those are just a few examples of things that we consider to be outside information.
If we have reviewed in the past, how often do we need to update the information in EHB?
You always want to update the information in EHB when any of your information has changed for any reason. We also recommend that you take a tour of that information, say at least annually, just to keep your name active in the database.
If I have a question, who do I contact?
If you have a question, your first line of defense is to always contact your DIR representative, as we will triage any question that you have to the appropriate individuals, such as program officers or grants officers. So if you have a question, always contact DIR first.
How do you determine if it will be a teleconference or a face-to-face meeting?
Well, that determination is made early on. It depends on the Bureau. It depends on a number of things that determine that. But typically, if it's a new program, we usually start them out as a face-to-face. But there are many factors that are internal to us that help us decide what method we will use for the program.
If an applicant is ineligible, do I still have to review the application?
No. Before reviewers are given their individual reviewer assignments, the program office does a completeness and eligibility screen. And what this does is it allows us to eliminate those applications that are ineligible. So when you receive your reviewer assignment sheet, don't worry. Everything listed on there is an eligible application.
How are reviewers selected to review a particular application?
We collaborate with our program staff as well as query our database for specific qualifications and or skill sets needed for the particular competition. And we generally do query from the database, but we also do get recommendations from our program staff every now and then.
I applied to be a reviewer 3 years ago, and no one has called me to review. How do I let you know that I'm still interested in being a reviewer?
That's a great question. One way that we could always, or you can always let us know that you're still interested is to look at our HRSA grants page and look at the FOAs that are currently listed. Make sure that your skill sets match what is outlined in the FOA. If it does, look for the program office contact. Feel free to contact that program officer, and they will forward your information to us in DIR. And look forward to us soliciting you once we're ready to accept and receive reviewers.
Sharice, may I add something there? I just want to remind reviewers, it is very, very important for you to keep your information updated in the database so that we don't overlook you for any particular competition that you might have the qualifications to review for.
Would I have to take the assessment again?
No, you do not have to take the assessment again. However, I would recommend that you take a look, peruse through there just to see if we have made any revisions to that assessment. And it's always good to take a look and peruse through it at any time just to make sure you still have those sharp skills there.
Are reviewers rotated for programs, or how often can I be called upon to be a reviewer?
You can be called upon to be a reviewer as many times as needed. So if your skill sets happen to match that particular program, then we can use you. However, we don't want to overuse any one particular reviewer for any competition, as that can potentially be perceived as a bias. So we do try to rotate off a few of our reviewers every year so that we can give new reviewers an opportunity to experience that particular program and to bring some fresh ideas to that competition.
Why can't a person with an application in the competition serve on another review panel?
That is not a HRSA practice. We shy away from that as best we can. You could have influence over the competition if, in fact, your organization or your school is applying for that competition. It gives a competitive advantage.
We have a question from Steve from Alaska.
Yes, I was wondering if you pay travel costs and if there's any limitation as to how far, hence Alaska.
No, there's no limitation. We do have reviewers from Alaska, and yes, we do pay your travel costs. Your initial travel is handled by a contractor, paid in advance. We do reimburse you, and you do receive a per diem for other costs that are allowable.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are hard copies of the application provided to reviewers?
Not at this time. We have gone completely paperless. We no longer provide hard copies of the applications or the FOA.
If I'm chosen to review, will I have an opportunity to decline participating if the timing does not work for me?
Yes, you do. Please note that we solicit you for the first time, and we give you the dates, and we give you the requirements for that particular review. However, there's some time that lapses between our solicitation and when we actually confirm you as a reviewer. So if something changes in your schedule or you now are no longer able to participate, please feel free to let the person know who solicited you that you are no longer able to serve.
We have a question from Katrina. How do you avoid conflicts of interest? For example, potential reviewers' affiliation with an applicant.
We rely on our reviewers to disclose that information. However, when we are querying and we know the applications that have been submitted for a particular program, we send out what we call our master list of eligible applications, and we ask that our reviewers take a look at this list and attest and certify to not having a conflict of interest with any of the applications on that list. If you feel there's an appearance or you have a potential conflict of interest, we invite you to contact us personally so we may discuss the nature of the conflict of interest. Thank you.
Can I use an iPad or tablet to submit my applications?
Yes, you can. We know that this is a new age where we have diverse technology, and we do encourage that at HRSA. Please be aware, though, that our applications are in PDF. Therefore, you need to have a device that is compatible with Adobe. So if you're using an iPad, be sure that the iPad you're using has Adobe, and you have the ability to submit your applications into ARM. Or you can opt to use another device to read your applications and then submit your applications for submission on your iPad or tablet.
How will I know which applications are assigned to me for a particular review?
What we typically do is when you are confirmed as a reviewer, we send you not only the eligible list of applications, but we also send you your reviewer assignment sheet. And on that sheet, you will see only the applications that you as a reviewer are assigned to evaluate and submit into the ARM system.
Sharice, may I add something there? We just like to let you know in advance, though, when you go into our application review module system, while you have been given an assignment list of applications, typically you will see all of the applications assigned to your panel. So don't be alarmed. You only read and evaluate independently those that are assigned to you for that particular competition at that time. The remaining applications are discussed on-site in your panel committees.
How will I know if I have been selected to be a reviewer?
Typically what we do is we send a confirmation letter to those reviewers that have been selected based on their qualifications and or expertise for that particular field.
How do you accommodate reviewers with disabilities?
That's a very good question. All of our PDF documents are 508 compliant, and if we're faced with any other challenges or disabilities, we will address them at that time, and we are open with satisfying whatever needs that you may require in order to review for a particular competition. We can get an interpreter for face-to-face meetings if necessary, or any equipment that you may need to review to make the review process work for you.
How can I learn more about the ARM system? Are tutorials available?
Yes, tutorials are available. Typically what happens when you are selected as a confirmed reviewer, we send you a link to some of our ARM flash demonstrations. And this allows you to have a step-by-step of what you will see when you access the system and how to write your comments and submit your scores in the ARM system. Along with that, we also will provide you an ARM manual that gives you instructions further on how to submit your scores.
Are reviewers required to bring laptops to the face-to-face meetings?
No, it's not a requirement. However, it is very useful for the reviewers, particularly if you've taken the time to download the PDF files so that you can read them on site or do a search for particular words when you're doing your independent evaluation. It's totally up to you whether you want to bring your laptop or iPad or not.
Are reviewers allowed to download the applications onto their laptops and tablets?
Yes, they are, but we want you to know at the end of the review, we require that you destroy any information. I guess the word destroy is not very tech-savvy here these days, but we ask that you delete that information from your iPads or your laptops.
Typically, how many people are assigned to a panel for a face-to-face or web teleconference meeting?
It varies. However, comfortable number for web teleconferences are 3, no more than 7 on a panel. And then for face-to-face, comfortable numbers range from 7 to 10.
And to piggyback on that question, how many panels are there in the average review?
Depending on the mode, it will depend on the panel size, and also will depend on the number of eligible applications that we receive for that competition. So basically, if you have a typical 30 to 50 applications, you may have 6, 7, 8 panels, depending on number of eligible applications and how many people we can actually serve on the panel.
Okay, this question came from someone who's really busy, I guess. They want to know How much do I need to write?
Ironically enough, that's actually a very common question. Reviewers often ask us how much is acceptable and how much do we need to write. And our typical answer is you need to support your score, especially by criterion, as we always want to be defensible in our feedback. So if you have docked an applicant a significant number of points, we really need for you to give us an explanation as to why you did so.
What if my comments don't agree with the other reviewers' comments?
That's a good question. That's why you come together as a panel to have the discussion, and during this time, you come to a consensus as a panel. That is done for both the web-assisted teleconferences and the face-to-face. Now, don't forget, fields are independent evaluations, so typically you don't come together to discuss anything unless there's a wide disparity in either the scoring and or comments that you have provided independently.
If I have a preliminary score before the group discussion, can I change it?
Short answer to that is yes. Please remember that your preliminary scores are your initial scores. So you do have the opportunity to change those scores prior to discussion.
How do I determine the proper score?
Well, that is your judgment. Based on your read of the application and your expertise in the field, we look to you to make that determination. However, we do provide what we call a scoring rubric, and it's just a guide. We do look for you to use your independent judgment in the scoring process.
At this time, we're going to wrap up our question and answer segment. We do hope that we've given you some clarity to our process, and especially to the reviewer roles and responsibility in the HRSA objective review.